Hey guys, it's me, it's Queen Auset-heru, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask an Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. We like those thumbs up around here. Drop me a positive comment in the comment section, and please pass this video on to somebody else who might be able to use it. Likewise, all my information is underneath this video, so if you would like to get a reading done, please email me. If you would like to send me a gift, if you would like to be a patron, if you would like to check out my Ask an Aquarius merch, all that is underneath this video, okay? So today we're going to talk about something that's very interesting. We're going to talk about trauma bonding. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were telling me how in love with this person they were. And the more they talked, I could realize, the more she talked, I realized that she wasn't in love with this person, that she was trauma bonded with this person. And a lot of times people think things are love that aren't love. Trauma bonding, infatuation, these things sometimes really feel like love. I think it's because the emotion is so strong. So I think, and I've been in this situation too. I've trauma bonded a couple times and thought that I was in love. And I'll never forget, because I said to myself, this one case I'm thinking about, I said to myself, how can I be so in love with her so quickly? And that's the part that didn't make sense to me. And something in my spirit knew something wasn't right. And later on, years later, I realized that it was a trauma bond. So let me explain what a trauma bond is. According to Google, a trauma bond is essentially the process through which you begin to confuse an abusive relationship for love. You're drawn to your partner not because you're meant to be together, but because you are both wounded in a specific way. Now, in this case, you can be trauma bonded to somebody, like they said, is an abusive relationship, like a narcissist with an empath, they can trauma bond. But also, the next part of the definition is two people who are wounded in a specific kind of way also can do this, even if it's not abusive. So for example, if you have two people who have been taken advantage of sexually as a child or as an adult, and you have two people who've experienced this, when they come together, it's very possible, if they both haven't healed from the experience, that they might create a trauma bond. Okay, so neither one of them is abusing the other, they just both have the same type of abuse in their past. So then it says here, you're drawn to your partner not because you're meant to be together, but because you're both wounded in a specific way. In healthy love, your affection for one another grows over time. In a trauma bond, it's instantaneous because it's not love. It's an idea of love that makes you feel better about a pre-existing issue in your life. So in healthy love, normal love, you meet the person, you're friends with the person, you spend time with the person, you date the person, they court you a little something, something, you court them a little something, something, and the next thing you know, you're a couple, and it's a gradual, progressive process. At some point in the process, you begin to have that feeling of love and genuine affection for them. In a trauma bond, you feel this instantaneously. So very shortly after getting to know them, you feel this deep feeling of affection and emotion and what you think is love. I've experienced this more than once, but I didn't realize it until after it happened. But now looking back on it, it was instantaneous. We met each other, and like within a couple of days, we were a couple. What? You know, within a couple of weeks, we were like seriously talking about moving together. What? You know, and I could think of other times, like I was seeing this Cancer one time, and I'll never forget, she said to me, "You told me that you love me." And I was like, "I did." And this was at the end of the relationship. I couldn't even remember. But looking back on it, it was because we were trauma bonding at that time. So instantaneously, I felt those feelings. And again, like it says here, it makes you feel better about a pre-existing issue. So whatever that pre-existing issue was, we were bonding over that pre-existing issue, and I was mistaking it for love. And I had done it more than once. So I wanted to point this out to you because a lot of people don't realize that when they're in a trauma bond. If you're the one way that you can tell, according to this definition, is that the love is instantaneous. And like they said, a healthy love is not instantaneous, it is gradual. Love at first sight, I do believe, can occur, but I think it's more infrequent than many of us would like to believe. I believe most of the time it's a trauma bond. This person has experienced hurt. Like, for example, some of the times I'll listen to women talk about things they've been through with men. And they've been through very similar things, very similar lies, very similar situations, and they'll sit there and they'll talk about it. And these two women will be very close or become very close friends. And I'm looking at them thinking to myself, it's because they have trauma bonded. Now, nothing is really wrong with trauma bonding. I'm not going to say it's awful, because those friendships can be helpful to both people. Sometimes it's really beneficial to talk to somebody who's been through what you've been through. So sometimes that can be kind of cool, but there are some issues with this. The first issue you have with a trauma bond is that usually both people have not healed haven't healed from the situation. So if you have a trauma, and you have not healed from your trauma, and then you meet me and I have a similar trauma and I haven't healed from my trauma, and then we sit there and compare notes and constantly dwell in the trauma. We're not healing it in a lot of cases. We're just kind of dwelling in it, kind of rolling around in the muck, and this can be okay for a little while, but a lot of times this is the entire relationship. And some of the times when these relationships fall apart, because sometimes they do, they look back and they're like, we never really had anything in common except for that one thing. That's the one thing we talked about, and that's the one thing that we had in common. So a lot of times they look back and realize that the relationship, it really wasn't helping them. They were just wallowing in the wound over and over again. And that can be extremely problematic, because what you want to be doing is supporting each other through healing through the wound. And a lot of times, like I said, that's not what occurs. Also, a lot of times you'll trauma bond with somebody, especially in a romantic sense. Let's say that you meet a guy and the two of you have both lost your fathers when you were young. Okay? His father might have been, had cancer, and maybe your father died in a car accident. And the two of you trauma bond over that shared situation. You might start to think you're in love with this gentleman or in love with this young lady if it's a woman. And you guys start to make moves thinking that you're in love with each other. 2 months later, you've moved in together, and now you're finding out that this person has a incurable STD that you didn't know about because you moved too fast and didn't have a chance to find that out. Or this person has awful credit, and they are, stuff getting repossessed and lights getting turned off and all kinds of things are happening, but you didn't know that because you moved too fast. The trauma bond gave you this false sense of love and security, and you just jumped on the relationship without even knowing who and what this person is. The woman could be a serial killer. You don't know. You don't know what she is. You didn't give yourself a chance to get to know her. You just bonded over that trauma, thought that meant you were in love, or that she was your soulmate or your twin flame. I hear that one all the time. Oh, this person's my twin flame. In reality, they're just trauma bonded. So you have to really be careful in these types of situations. Think about the people that are friends with you or lovers. What did you have in common? And if it was just a shared trauma, or traumas. Sometimes people have more than one in common. Oh, my mother was an alcoholic. Oh, my mother was a drug addict. Oh, my father wasn't there. Oh, my father died. I went to go live with my grandmother. I lived with my grandmother too. So sometimes a person will have the same types of things happen and they bond really quickly because they understand each other on a fundamental level because they've had a shared awful experience. So if this is you, if you've experienced this and you're in a trauma bond, I'm not going to say, run away. I'm just saying be mindful of it. And instead of just wallowing in the trauma, try to introduce ways to heal it. Learn ways yourself and then teach the other person. And maybe the two of you can then become healing buddies instead of trauma buddies. Okay? And I see this a lot. I did it so many times, but I didn't know what it was. I questioned it though, because I knew it was weird. I was like, I don't even know her. It's like, what is it? What is that? And I'm like, is it an infatuation? What is it? And I didn't get the language for it until after the relationship was long gone. Okay? All right, let's take a look at some of our comments. One of my favorite comments came from Mimi. Mimi is her name. And Mimi says, you always speak so beautifully. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Somebody once told me that I was very good with my words. I am very careful with my words, and I try to speak life into things versus taking away from things. So thank you. I do focus on that. I think it's important when you're engaging with people. Chris Kelly said, love is real, but it's painful. Love can be painful, especially if you're in love with the wrong person. If you're in love with the wrong person, or if the wrong person, or a person who is negative, or a person who's using you or playing with you, love can be extremely painful. But it doesn't have to be. If you fall in love with a good person or the right person or somebody who you're just compatible with, according to statistics, your chances for happiness go up by 50%. So just by dating and marrying and being with the right person, your chances for happiness go up by 50%. And I've always been stunned at that number because that's a really big number. But that's what they say. So love is something that can be really painful, but it also can give you quite the jolt. If you fall in love with the right person, it could be amazing. All right, it's time for us to get going. So if you like this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up and come back soon because I have a lot more to say. See you later.